you will test applications for your security, how you will test before hosting application, and how you will test after application hosted, and what are the parameters. Those are very much required to protect your application, and strategies to protect your application also here we will discuss today. Everyone know web applications and desktop executables. At the end, if they are communicating to server, everyone needs web server, and connectivity, and the database application architectures are required. In this scenario, I will tell you about web application here, main focusing on web servers and applications. And there are thick client applications, thin client applications. There are multiple type of applications. But everyone has a capacity to connect to central servers and web servers to get the patches, all the things. In practically what happens in web application like portals in NIC, we perform main focusing on application security of web applications also. What is web application? A web application is application software that runs on a web server, unlike computer-based software programs that are run locally on the operating system of the device. In practically, we need a web browser that able to connect to web server. How it is connecting? It is connecting to network channel only. DNS and all other parts are required. Those has to be in place before going for web application, which creates a network in a way. In application layer it communicates. If it is in network layer devices only connect. In our scenario, the top application layer, layer number 7 in OSI model, we are performing activities mainly. Web applications are accessed by the user through a web browser with an active internet connection. Here what we are giving, you are giving URL in a address bar where you are communicating to a web server. How web server responds? Based on URL that you provided. It goes to the exact server and then you are getting it. If it is a local server, you are communicating to the local server. How you configure your local systems, it is also matters to access the web applications. Now, if you have a website, I hope all ministerial employees and know about their websites are prepared and published in public portals to serve the citizens and government and local processing units. Here what happens? There are multiple layers of people and persons accessing these type of portals. In citizen-centric portal, you are giving to citizens as well as the local processing units and also actual ministry employees who are able to process the applications. There are multiple layers, multiple roles, how you are performing application usage. Now, the concern is if anyone performs any issue in between, what happens? The portal is publicly available. We have to identify and patch it. How to find those things also matters to in practical scenario of designing and implementation of web applications. So the main concern here is how to protect how to protect and secure your web application. Next, how secure is the information of organization through web application or any type of application? How secure is the information of customers and clients? Can someone able to access this information without authorization? Here I'll tell you about authentication and authorization. Authentication is a system where one can able to enter it. It should not allow directly to any resource. Consider you have a 3 roles. One is citizen role, application manager role, and admin role. If anyone able to travel from citizen to application manager role, it's not an authorized way. So you have to stop it. So what are the permissions required for each role you have to define to authorize, and you need to decide in the starting itself. because if the application is designed, it causes so much issues after fixing. What do I need to protect myself from getting hacked? Hacking is the scenario you have a multiple layers of systems in place in data centers. Still, certain sites got hacked. Why? Because application layer is allowed for public access, and then the people are accessing and attacking it. Whatever the signatures and behavior analysis, those were performed to stop those attacks. But still, attackers are smart enough to identify vulnerabilities in web applications. So you have to be thoroughly audited and executed and make sure the live systems and audited systems are perfect in condition without any loopholes. Okay, now I am going to tell about what is vulnerability. Vulnerability is a weakness in the application. What are the weakness in applications? I will come to the next slides. What are the main vulnerabilities in web applications and how you have to find it, how you have to patch it also, we have to discuss. And is it exploitable? How vulnerability causes exploitation is any attacker or threat agent. Threat agent is a person or attacker comes there to identify the vulnerability. By using that vulnerability, they try to exploit your system. What happens is your vulnerability causes identifying of loopholes in your system. Based on that vulnerability, exploitation is performed. You have to assess if there is a vulnerability also. Is it exploitable or not? Then the threat becomes very high priority threat. And web applications are very vulnerable to attacks because by design they cannot be protected by network firewalls. Network firewalls perform only network analysis and this. And the application specific logics are not tapped or fully touched by network layers. And they must have be available to everyone all the time unless they are on intranet. Still, intranet also we consider as a insider threat programs. Why? Because there are critical organizations which should not be allowed for team to team privacy and secrecy is maintained. In those scenarios, we have to consider insider threat programs also. So we request all the applications should be secured and protected and follow official norms design by design. So the design is also main important part while implementing of any web application. So here is the thing. In any applications implementations, we need a base infrastructure. Usually what happens, you have network devices, for that network firewalls and IPS for checking of all your traffic and rules, intrusion prevention systems. And here also certain rules are prepared. But your web application is allowed for public, or you are allowing to access the application to certain groups also. Still, you have to make sure your application is secure. These are not protected by protected by network firewalls, IPSS. IPSS will protect whatever the signatures and behaviors identified, but not a full-fledged checking is not performed in application layer. For those, we need separate firewall, web application firewall. And then antivirus. Antivirus is a host intrusion prevention system. You have a host antivirus and host intrusion prevention systems are different. Host intrusion prevention system will stop the attacks in a particular way to stop SQL injections and all this. But you have to consider whether this is still allowed. And antivirus. Antivirus performs a malware checking and fully. But what about web applications, the data leakages and these? So it may not be fully performed by antivirus also. You have to protect your application from web vulnerabilities. Here I am going to tell you one illustration of SQL injection attack, which is a very prominent attack since very long time of web applications are created. When the database and applications are there, what happens is SQLs are written in a application programming to communicate from application to database and to fetch you data or to client or to any person whoever requested. And here the consider employee details were used, and we have to get design platform like this, and the application firewalls are not there in place. This is one more condition. Web application firewall is not there in condition. Here you have a network firewalls and application servers are there, and those are serving the web content to the customer. The customer enters the details and fetches the data from database. Here is a normal one. Here he is entering account number. Attacker what he tried to do, and he entered a single code R1 equals to 1. That request is sent from application client to, or consider it is he is the attacker, to application. The application HTTP request is sent back to with the details to database. What happens here? The query becomes r equal to 1 equal to 1. This is a Boolean query written for always true, which the attacker tricking the database interpreter to execute the full query without the knowledge of what is the value and what is data. Here data and value are separate terms. We have to be keen on this. If it is data, the query is executed like a command. If it is value, the query is executed as a single variable. So here if you see red point, the red point is the one. If you enter this as a data, here, there are the concept of parameterized queries. If you use parameterized query in application, this will be taken as a value. If you send directly to the database, it executes as a data. Here, the concept of secure coding came into picture. So you have to be careful what query is sent to database. While designing, the designer has to think about this, and the programmer has to ensure that this is not vulnerable. So here the vulnerability is there, and what happens? The entire query is executed and leaking the entire database. So here are the sample amount of account details are disclosed continuously. If it is a very big database, the entire browser will be displayed in practice. So the attacker able to view the entire account summary in the database. That too actually database is stored in a encrypted fashion. When you are performing a query, it decrypts the data and give you data. So using SQL injection, the attacker got the decrypted data directly. And also the next level of SQL injections is you can able to execute operating system commands if the server is not properly implemented. This is also another issue. So you have to harden all levels to protect the application. So insecure design. Here applications how insecurely implemented or how they are prone to insecurities or security issues. And insecure design, only functional aspects persons consider instead of security aspects. You have to securely design it, that need to be considered. Insecure coding, lack of know-how on secure code practices. As I told you earlier, the parameterized queries protect the application of SQL injections. You have to use those type of queries to protect your application. This is one of the example, but in practice we have seen insecure coding done directly. The database is sent to the database and database servers and leak the entire databases. Policies and guidelines for SDLC or SSDLC will say. What is SSDLC is secure SDLC, software development lifecycle. In designing phases are there in SDLC where you have to implement all security requirements for each level, and legacy applications. These are very high concern because the legacy applications are designed and running continuously in so many places. You have to ensure to migrate them, or you have to protect using different layers of security. Still, we recommend create with a new infrastructure all the legacy codes. But how much is your effort and to secure it is also matter. Insecure infrastructures. The application servers are very primary concerns in so many places. Consider Drupal applications and Apache Struts. There are multiple types of web infrastructure available in uh, open source as well as commercial world. In open source world, there are multiple applications published with critical vulnerabilities. Those are exactly pertaining to the web servers and CMS servers. We have to ensure updating your entire patches. Those were the main challenges. Changing in technology. There are so many challenges in implementing the technology parts. Why? Because the new developers comes with the latest technology developments and practices. They implement new development packages. Suddenly, the backend codes may not work, so they implemented their new codes. You have to adhere to your practices to the latest technology also. Blacklisting and whitelisting. In most of the applications, while taking input and output generations, blacklisting has to be done or whitelisting has to be done. You have to design your parameters where blacklisting should be used, where whitelisting should be used. Design by design itself, you have to know it. Each and every parameter should be planned for blacklisting and whitelisting. But we recommend to use both blacklisting and whitelisting based on the test cases to ensure secure applications were delivered. Here are the list of common risks or vulnerabilities in web applications. As I told, SQL injections are very prominent and identified in multiple web applications, and recent open source applications also prone to SQL injections and cross-site scripting. Here, cross-site scripting, what happens is the HTML elements. What are HTML elements? Web applications having HTML content in background to the client and JavaScripts. Those are the main portions to display the content in any web browser. Those were sent as an input to the server by the attacker. What happens here is the attacker sending HTML content input to the server reflects back or stores it in database. These were the two cases. What happens there is they will be executed if it is stored in database that is called persistent database XSS. In persistent XSS, any user across the applications, sorry, any user using that application calls to you execute that HTML content sent by the attacker. So it will be served to entire applications and users. It is a very dangerous attack. They may steal your application or steal the operating systems of each and every client also. That is a very much possible. Malicious file upload. In most of the cases, feedback pages, I seen registration pages. In registration page itself, the pages were not properly validated, and the attacker is able to upload malicious shell files, which causes damages to the entire server. They can able to deface the system, or they can able to retrieve the system. We recommended so many applications which are not much required for them, and validate them or put the application on behind the authentications, these type of techniques to reduce the attack at least. Malicious file executions. If the servers are properly configured, you have to decide where should be uploaded content placed. if the uploaded content is given permission not to execute, only read only. They can able to download or view the files only. If it is the case, the uploaded contents even after that also, it won't be executed. Insecure direct object reference. Here in insecure direct object reference, there were two cases. One case is the user is directly bypassed to the external world of URLs. One more is he is able to log into the admin portion directly. Even he is assigned with the role of low level role by using a admin keyword. Consider you have an admin keyword where it can allow the user to enter to the admin portion. The attacker enters the admin keyword directly or guesses the keyword to enter to the admin portion directly. Cross-site request forgery. This is a popular attack for targeting most of the bank sites in previous times. Nowadays, it is very less possible. Still, we recommend to check this one. It should require authentication. After authentication, the websites are prone to attacks if they are not maintaining any random key to serve a particular person. The web servers are HTTP servers are not maintaining directly the stateless. It is like a stateless where it won't identify the end user directly. So based on your request, it serves directly. So if you maintain one random key so that it will serve the particular one. Next, information leakage and improper handling. Information leakage. What happens here is all CMS systems. There are multiple able to identify your web infrastructure by seeing web pages. Why? Because the headers in the applications are leaking application web server details and other particulars like Microsoft IaaS is showing in X forwarded for in X exporter, and one more is jQuery. The jQuery sample files having a headers of all the details of jQuery version and all like this. And Drupal versions, they put a Drupal version details directly. So you have to identify wherever the possible leakage of information. The popular one, WordPress version, leaks the author details who are the users of the WordPress itself. So you have to harden based on each platform, how to harden the server, how to stop leakaging of the information of web server is much required. Error handling. All the application servers are if configured with default security features, they leak the information of the web server. If the website is not available, they disclose the Apache version like that. You have to be careful to before going to production. Make sure these type of errors should not be displayed, like improper handling came 500 internal server headers. What you do in that? In internal server errors, you have to configure a page where it displays this page got an error or like that. So you have to display a custom error page, should not leak the information. And broken authentication and session management. These were very critical part. After authentication, this portion comes. So you have to ensure there should not be any issues with the authentications and session management. Under session management, if anyone leaks the session details, what will happen? That will be another scenario also. Insecure cryptographic storage. We recommend our database storage should be encrypted. Even the leakage of information happens, we have to be ensure that entire database is encrypted with the keys so that it should not be decrypted by the attacker. Insecure communications. As per the recent guidelines of MIT, you have to use TLS 1.2 or TLS in your websites to ensure all the applications communications were in SSL and encrypted over transport layer. Failure to restrict URL access. As I told earlier, insecure direct object reference, here direct internal page comes. In insecure direct object reference, you are giving a keyword of admin. But in failure to restrict URL, you are directly accessing the authenticated portion by just entering in the address bar. If it is accessible, it is fully vulnerable. This is a very critical vulnerability still exists in NIC websites. It is found in and reported for fixing the issues. Here comes a application security functions. SAST DAST. What is SAST? Static application security testing. Here you are analyzing the source code directly. And in dynamic application security testing performs after hosting the application by running tools or checking the web server like a web browser using web browser, intercepting the request and then verifying it against the test cases of all security issues. Penetration testing. In penetration testing, when we do perform penetration testing, the first one, usually we perform penetration testing in web production environments. In web production environments, we try to ensure the entire stack of application is vulnerable free. And is it penetratable? If it is penetratable, how much is the penetration? Is it able to spread across the network, or is it attacking only to a particular portion or particular VLAN? Okay, web application firewall. In web application firewall, we configure the server in between of users and the web server. What happens here is whenever the attacker sends a request to website, the web application firewall takes the request or captures the request in between and intercept it and verify it. Is there any security issues or security payloads and any signatures matched, any data leakage matched, like that there are multiple checklists. It will verify it, and if it is safe for serving it, then it sends to a web server and the web server sends back to the client. Okay, if any queries, you may let me know. Here are the best practices to build applications securely. There is an organization OWASP, Open Web Application Security Program. In this security program, they try to identify the security issues in web applications continuously, and they also rate the applications. And from there, they fixed a program OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities, where all the applications which are top attacked over the entire period of 1 to 2 years, they analyze and give that information, and they publish that data, from where every application owners or scanners, they follow this OWASP top 10 to ensure all the applications are secured. So if the application is followed OWASP top 10 program, they were up to certain level of standard already achieved. Then application security audits. We need to perform audit before hosting. It is a general recommendation. to host any application, and certain empanel guidelines also there, empanelments also auditors were there. They have to perform it in a way to ensure the applications were tested in all levels, as early told application security functions. Implement proper logging. Here, implement proper logging is may not be a full function of application security, but this is much required if something happens into the system. So it added more proper logging mechanisms in application security while designing and implementing. You have this is also helpful in application debugging also. In certain cases, we can identify like uh, the malicious file upload program, which is directly uploaded, is able to access from the system. But in normal functionality, if it is not there, what happens is the developers may not identify direct program which is lying on the server, which consisting of more number of codes and files. So application owners may not able to identify all the times what files are there on the system if it is given to the citizen-centric program directly. So through logging, it is very easy to identify is there any file which is lying on there and any possibility of breaches happening. Also, there are cases of devices which identify file hashes, and the antivirus also tries to identify is there any malicious file like that. So how it came? Based on that, we can identify what is the exact vulnerability and what is the incident happen, how much is it is propagated. So we can stop that. It is an incident handling process. And you have to use real-time security monitoring and protection programs to ensure your entire applications are secure. Encrypt everything. Here, authorizations and authentication tokens also need to be encrypted. Like we in .NET, they use cookies type, and all are encrypted. And we cookie also there. You have to harden your web application stack completely. Latest vulnerabilities of the applications also need to be tapped by any of our groups, or you have to ensure that the NVD database. NVD database is a security program, National Vulnerability Database. In that, all the web applications, open source applications issues are published. From where is our organization's issues are there or not, we have to identify it. Is there any issue? We have to contact the concerned teams to patch the issues. If is there possibility of patching, you have to ensure is if it is not there, you have to go for different layers of virtual patching. Virtual patching provides the system. If it is unable to patch, still other programs like third-party software, antivirus, HRPS solutions will provide a way to patch that application. Here comes the functionality static application security testing. What we do in static application security testing is we are taking the code of entire system and we execute in a simulated environment. It's not actually to say execute, not executing. It is decompiling and reverse coding of your code with the decompiler and matching with the patterns. Is it exactly working as desired, or is there any verification and validations are not working fine? This will be done by what you say source code analyzer, SAC, SCA. And here I comes with there are multiple uses. Complete consistent coverage. Still we need to identify for roles. If there are multiple roles, the static analyzers may identify certain portion, and we have to ensure in dynamic testing also for complete thorough testing of applications. Dynamic application security testing. As I told earlier, the dynamic application security testing starts after hosting the application after hosting before production environment. I would say before production, after hosting the application. In this dynamic testing, you are able to access the application locally or publicly also, but based on your how you are giving to production and publishing the environment. Here we use dynamic analyzers, scanners, and multiple online scanners also available to ensure the application is safe and secure. Here we also insist to check the application with a manual testing team for any missing portions of a dynamic application security. Here are the big differences between SAST and DAST. Here, SAST approach is a type of a developer approach. The scanner or application tester should have a knowledge of development also for better understanding and implementation of that application testing continuously. In dynamic application testing, only hackers type of approach, or to say application security tester ethical hacker approach. Here, the dynamic tester don't know anything. Hacker don't know anything about the system. He tries to attack with his pre-existing tools and signatures with experience. Experience also matters in most of the cases because tools have a signatures only. If you are finding any error, based on that error you have to tune your signature. That requires good amount of experience or coding possibly. In SAST, you are examining code statically, non-runtime environments. There is no hitting to the web server also. Here in dynamic application security testing, we are getting runtime environment and the log also will be generated for further any issues identification. Here in SDLC, you have to implement vulnerabilities identification very early. In SAST, in DAST, you are identifying after hosting application. DAST is a DAST vulnerability fixing is little bit costlier than SAST. Why? Because you are identifying in very last stages of testing. So you have to find it as early as possible. So SAST is should be required for reducing the number of vulnerabilities. SAST is less expensive to fix the vulnerabilities, and here DAST is a little bit expensive than SAST. If it is in production, very costly process. Why? Because in production, if you are going for patching, there are dependencies of city clients, all are persons. Still, you are in before auditing process itself. You are fixing it. It is less costlier. If you are going to production, it more costlier. And here in SAST, you are identifying XSS, SQL injections, early stages. Here in DAST, you have to identify the board application, what is doing in high level view. After that, you are identifying what are the signatures to attack it. Is there possibility of access? Still, we have to check it. So both are trying to secure our applications in different methodologies. Here is a SSDLC process. In normal SDLC process, you are trying to add security elements so that the applications will be secure. First, you are going to secure design. In design phase itself, you have to identify security elements like SQL injections has to be fixed. What is the recommendation design? In that design, you have to pay parameter queries required. So in secure coding, the coder has to code like that. After that, the testing persons perform entire security testing. There is a difference between security testing versus penetration testing as well as performance testing. Performance testing considering about functionality of the web servers and load testing of the details. Here in penetration testing, we are testing the application exactly to security issues of production and security review. Under security review, you have to review entire posture of the applications. Is there any VA required or further implementation and securing elements of servers, CMSs, and how to protect those things. Those type of security review need to be implemented for applications. The best rule for all is all external inputs should be examined before sending to a parameter or assigning to a parameter. So verification and validation of any input should be implemented before coming to the server, and so at the server also you should validate. If you are sending from client, the client may stop JavaScripts all the items and send the crafted message to the server. At your server, if you are not examining it, it may cause the damage to the server. So you have to validate at server side compulsorily. Here I told about a secure session management. Here there is a concept called session fixation. Under session fixation, the authenticated user should get a new session. This is the actual concept. The authenticated users should destroy the old cookies and old session details. After authentication, they should generate new session cookies and new sessions and cookies, and then flow will be created. Whenever the logout happens, you have to recreate the session. This is a good generation session management program. Also, you have to disable caching for authenticated portion. That is the best practice. Sensitive data exposure. As I told earlier, the errors also matters and leaking information. And here we are telling about clear text HTTP request. In clear text HTTP request, if anyone tap on transport layer or network, they can able to check the entire traffic across that line. Or particular like Wireshark, if you use Wireshark, you can identify what is the HTTP traffic, and you can able to see the plain text. If you recompile entire thing, you can able to represent the entire flow of sequence of history, what is captured and what are there. Directory and file accessible as URLs. Here in directory indexing is there, the best example for this. If any directory indexing page is there, it lists the entire pages. So you can able to view them as a proper Explorer program like Windows. You have to stop those. Password and other sensitive data in plain text. Here we recommend salted hash with a salted hash program. That should be SHA-256 with another hash and recompile that hash with another hash. So salted hash will be used for better transportation security and non-breaking of your passwords. At server side, what happens? At server side, the data will be represented in hash format only. That is where storaging of password hashes also should be there. Use of old outdated algorithms or weak encryption to protect sensitive information. You know, MD5 hash. MD5 has issues with the collision algorithm issues. If anyone able to generate the MD5 hashes, those were very easily broken, like rainbow tables can be used for breaking them. Here, this is example. In the web application, as I told earlier, the website leaks the information. This is a Vapalizer is used to identify the information. Vapalizer is a Chrome plugin where it identifies what are the server or web infrastructure used in that page. Based on that, this much data is identified. You may try it at home also. It is a free Chrome plugin, but we recommend to remove it. It has a tracking features of cookies and all others. We recommend to remove it after some time. And earlier I told about page not found issues and internal server errors leaking the web server information. The server using Apache 2.4.33 and OpenSSL 1.0 and the PHP version details are disclosed. In a recent scenarios, there are PHP object injection vulnerability is published. If it is successful on this type of pages, what happens? The website may got hacked, and also the attacker may get whatever information he needed. So ensure before disclosing any information, is it required to the public or not? So you have to prevention it. We recommend encrypt all sensitive data, the storage issues and transit, and use always HTTPS. Don't ask data for that you don't need it. As I told, what you require only put there on the server, and what you don't need it, remove the software also on the web server. Also store data what is required also. If you want to store more data, it is not recommended. Discard data as soon as possible after no longer needed. You may archive it also. That is another possibility. Transmit sensitive information in encrypted hashes of SHA-256 bytecode. Okay, the password should be mentioned in these salted hash types. We recommend this way. Disable autocomplete, disable auto caching. These two should be implemented for authenticated portion compulsorily. We recommended operating system, servers, DBMSs, third-party libraries, runtime environment should be patched continuously. And as I told earlier, the NVD is maintaining vulnerability list. Each vulnerability is represented with common vulnerability enumeration, that is CVE. That is called CVE. You may check it NVD site. The details of any platform, you can identify it. File upload vulnerability. What mechanisms you want to implement? Consider scenario in file upload. You want to publish a file upload module for uploading images only. If you are, this is the scenario. How the coder will implement that? You have to design it. The coder will take the file upload and validates is it file or not first. After that, how much size is requirement? Is there any guidelines? GIGW guidelines are there for that also. MIT has published these guidelines for applications functionality. There you have to use that guidelines also. And what type of content should be used? If file is there, the content type is changed. Inside of a content, the attacker posts the entire shell content. If it is able to execute, that causes a problem. So you have to validate the entire content types. File extension is double extension required. That is also a problem. The operating systems have a issue with null values %00 in the files. They executed as a file directly. It's a long back. This is a prominent vulnerability in Linux and Windows machines of PHP servers. PHP, where we executed successfully uploading a file. The file is executed back and identified back and causes server to defaced. This is analyzed. So you have to ensure before uploading any file to a server. We may recommend to upload to another server, and like a file server, you can give it back. That is also another feature, but it requires so much setup. If the file is uploaded, now if the file is uploaded and these checks came, still I recommend in our practices, the best part is the file PHP or any programs has a feature of rendering it. The file uploaded image file should be rendered. After that, is it properly rendered or not? There is a function. If it is rendered, it will give back a boolean variable yes or no. If it is yes, then only you can upload. If it is no, we recommend to discard that page or give error page to the user. Insufficient logging and monitoring, we recommended these are the checklist where we have to log items. Input validation failures, output validations, authentication success, authorization success or not, and also which user came. Session management failures, are there any session management issues? We also recommend OTPs for certain registration appointment modules. Why? Because if there is a person try to book the appointment within seconds using Tower APIs and all like that, what we do? There, it is easy to identify OTP generation time and OTP entered by you, OTP sent by you, OTP entered by you. These details will be matched so that we ensure the system is properly logged, and this is the details. But you have to store the logs securely also. If you are leaking these details, the username entire details were there. You should not share in plain text also. We recommend never share your logs directly and to publicly or in organization. You can give it only in secret manner. Okay. And you can also exclude which need to be excluded, which need to be included. This need to be a decision policies based on the framework of organization while designing application itself. Where you have to store your uploaded locations, that need to be decided also. Okay, this is the audit flow in our NIC, and here audit process will be initiated by end user, and our team performs source code analysis using SEA tool. Uh, After that, what is BBA is dash tool only, black box testing audit, and after that we are performing manual audit. The certification process will be after completion of all the rounds. Under white box testing, we have told about source code analyzers were used and the systems were tested. Here we are using different types of tools, AppScan source code analyzer as well as HP45. These are the current good players currently exist, and we well with these tools for analyzing applications of NIC only. In SES scanning, we have issues with certain users. All the frameworks, whether existed or not, and the compatibility issues of the source code that is shared to us. And the next one is PDFs and videos are not properly tested. Why? Because those were different. And if there are so many number of PDFs, the source code analyzers may face issues. So the actual process is, if you are end user, you are submitting a request, and the source code analyzer does these parts. The expert of that source code analysis part will be done by them. After that, the next level in source code analysis, if it is completed, they will share back to the end user, and the end user will send back after patching it to the black box testing tool. The black box testing tool runs the scanners. Is there any automated way to identify vulnerabilities? If the report is generated and it is shared back to the user, the developer will fix the issues again and share back to the manual testing after completion. So here the top OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities and other critical vulnerabilities will be identified and sent back to the user. Sent back to the security team, where the security team performs identification of vulnerabilities for manual. Is there any possibility? In certain scenarios, the flow may not be properly identified by black box test tool because it's a tool which is written by codes only. The improvements will be done continuously based on the details identified. Here in this scenario, manual tester know the application flow. After identifying application flow, he tries to implement in his own way techniques is to identify bugs. So as I told earlier, the experience of a user tester is main matter. Experience of a user, what they does, they craft the request in a fashion to identify or leak the information so that the vulnerability will be found. If it is not, then it is secured. So he assures it the application is secure from vulnerabilities. In manual testing, there are multiple features we may not avail because email and SMS features. These are costly services in practice. If you are using email service, this may become a Spamming emails may be generated if we use tools and generation techniques. SMS is a costly process. We have to ensure you need a funding for this also. If you want to test SMS feature along with a manual testing, and the manual testing team requires so much time. What they do, they try to check each and every page for vulnerable free or not. In this scenario, the time taking per page varies. If there are multiple parameters are there, the man days will be changing. In the meantime, the development teams also works there and changes the pages continuously. So the both changes damages requirements completion and certification. So the ever changes, it will be sent to the manual testing team. Manual testing team checks it and send back. This process requires so much time. So this is a very challenging portion. If you have a module where the manual tester is testing and another module you are fixing it, this is the best process for fixing the issues. Before hosting, all the applications should be properly audited and vulnerable free, and remove the entire default content shells which are uploaded by auditors or tools. Any miscontent, what to say, testing content should be removed from the server, and it should be production free for ensuring it. We recommend VA of the server, vulnerability analysis of the server before hosting in our data center. That will be done by our network team group and VA analysis group. Penetration testing. After hosting the application, we need to perform penetration testing. Why we need to perform still? The application is changed over the time, and applications are may not be vulnerable, but a web server is still vulnerable based on the application. So we have to ensure all these, we perform penetration testing again. Virtual patching. If the vulnerabilities are patched, but how you will fix it if there is no developer like that? If there is a developer, we can still fix the issues, but it takes still time. In the meantime, that is the application is production running and the users are coming and attackers are also coming. So to patch that application, if there is a possibility with HIPS, or you have to create signatures, what are the vulnerabilities that requires different expertise level. If you have a WAF, web application firewall, there are signatures like I told earlier. The attacker is directly hitting WAF, not the server. The request is not reaching to the server. The WAF is stopping it if there is a issue or any security loopholes or payloads. WAFs are designed to protect web application servers from web-based attacks. Here it works only in application logic. And 7. By design, WAF has a capacity for OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities list. And it also has a feature of stopping click jacking, these type of vulnerabilities. If you prepare any crafted coding in web application firewall, they allow you to code yourself and to stop the applications issues also. There are FI is there, Barracuda is there. This FI is supporting coding I rules and all these parts. So I have explained about application security and strategies, analysis portions requirements. Any queries on SAST, DAST, and WAF PT of applications? Please let me know. Hello, Atul.
Okay, sir. There is no
Okay,
query, sir.
I'm winding up the session. If any queries, please let me know. My
Okay, sir.
email ID is thanks everyone for attending the session. If any query, you can contact me by email.
Ram sir, please start your session, sir, please.
Hello, hi Atul.
Hi, sir.
So should I start my session, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You.